Hello BookTube, my name is Sarah and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with the Audiobook 2.0 tag. So I was tagged a few weeks ago by Jen from Today in Jen's Library, and she is the originator of this tag, and I was super excited. I love audiobooks. It's really something I've gotten into in the last year and a half. Especially even more so now with the fact that I realize that my library has a lot of audiobooks that I can borrow for free. So that makes things a lot nicer. But yeah, she tagged me in this video and I've been super excited about doing it. So let's jump in and get started. So I am going to leave a link to Jen's original video in the down bar below. So please go ahead and check that out along with a list of all the questions. So like I said, let's jump in and get started. Question number 1, name a book that was better on audio. This one I did not even have to think about. And that book is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. This book was unbelievable on audio. I read the physical copy of the book years and years and years ago. And it took me a good 6 months to get through. It's not a small book. But when I joined Audible, I know a lot of people were talking about it because it was kind of having a resurgence with the TV show coming out and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I would totally remember that book. But I'd never gone any further than the first book. So I decided to use one of my credits when I was on Audible, and I picked it up. And oh my God, guys, unbelievable. It gives the story so much more to listen to it on audio than it does to read it. I'm telling you, it's just, her voice is magical, absolutely magical. And if you're apprehensive about this series because of the size of it, because of the length of it, and you can get it on audio, definitely do so. Now, I am bummed because my library does not have these books on audio. Like, seriously. So eventually I'm going to have to get back to, because I did cancel my Audible membership when I joined the library because, for financial reasons. But I might join back again and do 6 months or so and get the rest of the books in the series, and then I can listen to them at my leisure. So yeah, they're wonderful, wonderful books on audio. The next question is, sorry, I'm reading my notes here. Name a book that was worse on audio than in print, and you switched. So I didn't switch halfway through reading the book, but I'm not continuing with the series on audio. And that series is the Flynn Brothers trilogy, and it's by Heather Graham, and the first book was Deadly Night. I grabbed this one on audio. Now, this is a series I read years ago. I read all 3 books in the trilogy, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to listen to it on audio. It was a gentleman who narrated it. For the life of me, I cannot remember his name. I will put it right here. And it was just, the story is told mostly from a guy's perspective, from one of the Flynn brothers. But it is a romantic suspense novel, hence the romance. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I found it really weird when you got to some of the adult scenes, wink wink, that it was a guy narrating it. It was just, it was just creepy, for lack of a better word. I did not like it at all. So I will not be rereading the rest of the series in audio. I will just reread them in ebook format. It's a really great series, but I just really think that took a lot away from me, from the enjoyment, because there was that whole creep factor. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's not something I cared for. Now, with her Crew of Hunters series, I don't know whether those are narrated on audio by male or female, but it doesn't matter. I'm actually physically reading those in ebook format. But yeah, this one, no, did nothing for me. The next question is, top female narrator and top male narrator. Well, the top female narrator is Davina Porter, who narrates the Outlander series. Like I said, she's magical. Absolutely magical. That series is both, the main character Claire is English, and of course Jamie is Scottish, and the majority of the story takes place in the Scottish Highlands. And she can very easily slip between male and female voices. Do you know what I mean, without making it sound too weird? And she can also slip between the Scottish and the British accents very easily. And you can really hear all the characters, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I had a little bit of a harder time with the top male narrator because I don't listen to a lot of books narrated by males. There are a few. Chesapeake was one of them, and I can't remember his name. But He was a little bit drier, but that lends to the book, which I will talk about soon, so stay tuned for that. But the one that I actually picked was one that I just finished listening to in December. And that narrator is Ray Porter. I don't know if he's any relation to Davina Porter. That would just be interesting. But he narrated a book called Tinsel. What was it called again? Bear with, I've got a picture of it right here. He narrated a book called Tinsel, The Search for America's Christmas Present. The author was Hank Stuever. And as I said, Ray Porter narrated this. It was really well done. This was a nonfiction novel, so it wasn't like it led to character voices and things like that, but it kept me entertained and it kept me engaged. And for a nonfiction book to do that, when you're listening to an audio without it sounding like, you know, droning on and on, it was really well done, and I was really impressed, so I like that quite a bit. If I had to pick a second male narrator, and the only reason I'm picking, like, Davina Porter is the end-all be-all for female for me. There are some other female narrators I really like, but she's my absolute favorite. The other one I really enjoyed was Tim Curry when I listened to A Christmas Carol a couple years ago. He did a really good job at narration. Next question, number 4. What's the longest book that you've listened to? So I had to look this one up because it was a toss-up between 3 books. One of them, of course, being Outlander. The other one being Gone with the Wind. But the one that beat out Gone with the Wind by, I think it was by an hour in length, is Chesapeake by James A. Michener. Is an amazing, amazing epic historical writer. And his books are, again, epic. I read Hawaii a couple years ago, and I really don't think I took away from it what I should have, because you'd kind of start skimming it in play. When you're looking at a 1,000-page book, and a good chunk of what he writes is description, you kind of start to go bug-eyed, or cross-eyed, and you tend to start skipping. Whereas with audio, you don't do that. So this took me almost a month to listen to on audio. It was 50 hours and 34 minutes long. I did speed it up as I got into it a bit more, and kind of got used to the narrator's narration. I don't remember his name. I'll put it right here. He did a good job. He was he was dry. And again, this isn't the kind of book that has a lot, I mean, it's got a lot of characters, but it's not like an Outlander or a Gone with the Wind where it's very character driven. This was very plot driven. And, you know, he tended to be a little dry, but once you sped him up a little bit, it was okay. And I really liked it. And my library has all of Michener's books on audio, which thrills me. So I will go back and listen to Hawaii again, or reread Hawaii essentially on audio. But when I read it in print book format the first time many years ago, it took me somewhere between 6 and 8 months. Listening to Chesapeake on audio, which is the same length, took me about a month, like I said. And, you know, I didn't really give it a lot of attention. 50 hours, even if you cut that in half, like if you go to 2 times the speed, you're still looking at a 25-hour-long audiobook. But absolutely worth it. If you like historical fiction, I highly recommend this author. The next one is the shortest book. And again, I've kind of already mentioned this one. And that was A Christmas Carol by, of course, the wonderful Charles Dickens. And the version that I listened to was narrated by Tim Curry. And this isn't the cover of it. This is just the one I'm going to show you guys. I love Tim Curry. And it was so funny. I don't know if I've mentioned this. I'm probably sure I mentioned this in another video around the holidays. But when I started listening to it, I said to my husband, Tim Curry, why do I know his name? Like, I'm so bad with, like, actors' names. And my husband's like, yeah, you know who he is. And I'm like, who? And then I looked him up and I'm like, oh, he's the bellhop from Home Alone. Whereas my husband remembers him from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I've never seen. But yeah, he does narrate it. He does a fabulous job. And like I said, this is the shortest book I've listened to on audio, and it's 3 hours and 33 minutes. Next question, number 6. How do you listen to your audiobooks? On my phone. Before, when I was on Audible, I used the Audible app. Now I use the Overdrive app. Most of the time, oops, what am I doing? Most of the time, it depends on where I am on how I'm listening to it. In the car, my car is MP3 player compatible. It is Bluetooth compatible, but I've had a lot of issues trying to sync this phone up to the Bluetooth. So I have a cord that I like. It looks like a cord for like your headphones, and it plugs into my my console, and then plugs into here, and then it plays through my speakers. So that's how I listen to it on in my car. And then at the gym and everything like that, I listen to it with headphones. I have little earbuds which now that I'm going to the gym, I really don't like. I don't mind them for around the house. Like, if I'm doing, like, washing dishes or vacuuming or something like that and I have the audiobook on, the earbuds are just fine. But I'm finding now that I'm at the gym and on the treadmill that the movement of walking tends to make them, like, dislodge from your ears. So I actually want to get a set of those, like, big headphones. Like, not the Beats by Dre. I'm not spending that kind of money. Like, I'm sure a Walmart cheaper brand will be just fine for my purposes. So that's what I want to eventually get. They don't have to be noise canceling or anything at all like that. Just something that will cover my whole ear so that when I'm moving, they don't tend to start popping out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's how I listen to my audiobooks. Question number 7. Should authors narrate their own books? It completely depends on the book. When I listen to memoirs, and I haven't listened to very many, really only one, and that was Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. It was great with Jenny Lawson narrating it. I know a lot of people sometimes say, oh, they shouldn't narrate their own, but it's their story. They should get to tell it in their own words. I think when it comes to definitely a memoir or an autobiography, absolutely let the author narrate it. In other things, maybe not so much. I know I just finished listening to The Valley of Amazement by Amy Tan, and there were some sections of that book that she actually narrated herself, which was really kind of nice. But in general, you know, it really is a talent. It's just like being an actor. Just because it's your voice doesn't mean you're acting any less. And I really think it is a specific talent, and not everybody possesses that talent. And, you know, leave it to the professionals, essentially, in some cases. In most cases, when it's work of fiction. Nonfiction, I think, absolutely works if the author wants to narrate it. But fiction, leave it to the professionals. Next question. Is there an audiobook you wish could be redone by what narrator? I don't know what narrator. I don't know enough narrators. I know I like who they are. I don't necessarily know their names. I know that's bad. But the ones that I have to point out would be the Harlequin. Now, Harlequin has done a number of their books on audio, which is absolutely fabulous. I always think it's great for older people. Like, you know, I always think of my grandmother who at 92 still reads, but she can't see. She has a really hard time seeing now. But she still knits too, which just amazes me. But for somebody like that who still wants to enjoy the reading process, but maybe can't see as well, or, you know, let's be honest, or is blind, you know, audiobooks are great for that. And, you know, the Harlequin books are my grandmother's favorites, and that's why I always think of her when I see them on audio. So I decided to try some. Now, my issue with them on audio is they seem to pick narrators that sound like they're 12. Like, I know I've kind of also got the highest pitch voice, but I am not an audiobook narrator. But you get these girls, and, you know, again, I don't know all their names, but they're very high, like, you know what I mean? Like, the couple I've listened to are almost like Valley Girls, and it's come on, the narrator of the audiobook really paints a picture to the character. And when you hear that, you don't necessarily think the character's dumb. I don't want to generalize that Valley Girls are dumb, because, you know, we all saw Legally Blonde. But do you know what I mean? It's that first impression thing, and it kind of turns me off. And I've stopped listening to them on audio, and now I'm just reading them because it's just easier. But yeah, if to redo them, you know, maybe with better narration, I think would be fantastic. Question number 9. Best audiobook you've listened to or your favorite? We're going right back to Outlander. Hands down. It was the very first book I ever listened to on audio as an adult, and it's what hooked me on audiobooks. Like, I didn't realize audiobooks could be that good. And there's been some hits and misses. Like I said, I listened to some of the Harlequins I really didn't care for. There's some other ones I liked, some of them I didn't like. It's just like reading a book, a normal book. But really, that's the one that set the tone for me going forward. That I'm glad that my first foray into audio as an adult was that good, because I have a feeling if it was something that was less than good, then I don't know if I would have stuck to it. Do you know what I mean? Question number 10. Yeah, 10. What's the most recent audiobook you listened to? The most recent audiobook that I've listened to was Sleepless in Manhattan by Sarah Morgan. Again, I cannot remember the narrator. I'll put it right here. She did a really good job of narrating. I really enjoyed the story. It was a lot of fun. I think I gave it 3.5 or 4 stars. Highly recommend it. It's a great contemporary romance. I own the next few books on ebooks, so I won't be continuing with the audiobook series. Not because I didn't like it, but because I actually purchased those ebooks, and I'd like to read them in the form that I purchased them in because I didn't spend money on them. So, you know, there's that. And there's a bonus question. And that bonus question is, what's a book currently not on audio that you wish was? This one, when Jen first did the tag and she got to that question, I was like dumbfounded. I'm like trying to think, and I'm on Audible and I'm typing these titles and I'm like, all the stuff I can think of is available on audio, you know, like, but there was one series when I first started listening to audio books that I was disappointed that only some, so I'm kind of taking liberties with this question. Only some of this series is available on audio and the rest is not, and that's kind of upsetting because I think it would be super duper fun to listen to on audio. And that is the Cat Who series by Lillian Jackson Braun. Some, maybe half a dozen of the 20 some odd books are available on audio, and that's still not bad. But, you know, I thought, oh, you know, maybe I'll listen to the first one on audio, the Cat Who, wasn't the Cat Who wasn't there? Cat Who Could Read Backwards? Was that the first book? I'll put the title right here. It might have been The Cat Who Could Read Backwards. And I couldn't believe it wasn't available on audio. And, you know, I got some of the other ones later in the series marked on Overdrive on my wish list so I can get to them because my library does have them. But, like, I consider Audible to be the be-all, end-all. If Audible doesn't have it, it doesn't exist. And correct me if I'm wrong, please. But none of the other ones, except for those, you know, maybe 4 to 6 books are available on audio. And it's a really good series. And I really, really wish that they would do them all. Now, in that same vein, the other series that I kind of like to see on audio, because I remember they had these when I was a kid, and that is the Babysitter's Club. Obviously not all the books, but, you know, some of the key books in the series, maybe the first 4 books, don't do what the graphic novels did and do book 1, 3, 4, and 7, and then go back and do number 5, which really angers me, but let's not get into that. But to do the first 4 books maybe on audio. Now, I remember as a kid, I had them as books on tape. And I don't remember the books that I had. I think it was book number 1, and I know it was one of the super specials. Babysitters Remember, I think. Am I remembering this right, or am I making up a memory? But I distinctly remember listening to this book on the family trip down to Myrtle Beach on my Sony Walkman, my yellow Sony Walkman, listening to that book on audio, and it was a book on tape. I've looked everywhere online, and again, maybe it's just me not remembering. They're not even available on eBay. Like, not even people selling them. Like, did I make this up? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, does anybody else remember this? But anyway, yeah, so that would be kind of fun, too, for nostalgic purposes, to have some of them available on audio, I think. I mean, how long could they possibly take to narrate? You know, they're quick little books, so that would be a lot of fun. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this tag. I am actually going to tag 2 people because I was actually tagged, so I felt I needed to pass on the love. And as I've been watching booktube videos over the last couple weeks, I've been like looking for people that I watch that also listen to audiobooks that I could tag, and I found 2. So if there's more, and if you listen to audio and you want to do this, please consider yourself tagged as well. But I am officially tagging Elizabeth of Lizzie Faye Loves Books because I know she's always listening to audiobooks. And I'm also going to tag Karen from Rather Be Reading because she is always listening to audiobooks as well. So I'd love to see your ladies' answers. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until my next one, take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.